area.
Yeah, and Ben, it's hard as we're looking at some of these live pictures to cut through that smoke, and I know you guys are doing your best to give a perspective there, and we appreciate that.
Yep.
Let us know what you're seeing, though, as we have some of these breaks in the smoke. How close at this point have you seen maybe the closest fire line to the nearest home?
Well, that's interesting. I mean, you can see the red retardant right there on the ridge line as we pan around. That was what was dropped by the DC-10, and then the top right-hand corner, as we pull out a little bit, you'll start to see where these extra homes are that are literally only 300 or 400 yards away.
We continue to follow breaking news out of Summit County tonight, where a massive wildfire has already burned homes, has evacuated potentially hundreds of people in several communities. Let's go back to Ben Tidswell. Well, we won't right now, but he's been giving great coverage and perspective of those homes as they burned.
He has, and we're going to get to Ben in a moment. First, we're going to go to Andrew Wittenberg right now. He's actually on the ground, and he's in that area right now. Andrew, give us an update. What are you seeing right now?
Still a lot of smoke, guys. Still some flames just off to the south of us here down Highway 32. I'll step out of the picture, let you guys take a live picture from the ground of what exactly we're seeing. And I was just saying a moment ago when we were on live that this smoke has shifted, and it has really stayed with the intensity, but it has moved in a different direction. That's what we've seen over the past two and a half hours. Now here at the top of the 5 o'clock hour, you're looking at the fire line right along Highway 32. This is right by the Rockport Reservoir. That is held right there for the better part of 2.5 hours. Right when we got here, it was moving right towards us. Now it appears the winds are moving it away, moving back towards the promontory area, back towards, if you will, the Park City area, although that is some amount of miles away. But that's what we see right now. It has stopped moving towards us. It has shifted.
Have you had a chance to talk to maybe some of the people who live nearby, who maybe have driven by? I saw a couple of cars right behind you there. What are their feelings? What are their thoughts on this right now?
Just how quickly it happened, really. We'll take a shot of some of the people who are standing by here, just hoping and praying that you know, their home isn't taken by this fire, but an extremely short amount of time to leave. You hear it from time to time. There are two sorts of fires when they get close to residential areas. The first is that there's mainly precautionary evacuations in case something happens, in case the winds shift. Then there's the second where it's mandatory and you've got to get up and go at this very moment. And this was one of those get up and go fires because, frankly, there is no time to waste when it comes to getting yourself and saving lives. And that's what happened here. A lot of these people telling me they had a matter of, you know, as quickly as they could grab their dog, a couple of family pictures, maybe children, just whatever they could grab with them that was in the home at the time, and make sure all their family members stayed safe, and then they had to go. They were forced out.
See, and this is what I was talking about just a second ago, where he showed us, you know, the lines
right.
In some areas look like they're dying down, but in other areas it's still really going. Ben, can you hear us from Chopper 5? Nope. Okay.
I think he's talking to some of the other aircraft in the area. As you'd imagine, he has to coordinate things.
Lots to do up there.
Yeah, tons of coordinate up there. But yeah, I think that's a good perspective. As we were showing, the top of that ridge right there is moving its way on up there, and then all of a sudden, when I say all of a sudden, it's because of the wind, most likely, pushed it backwards, and then it had nothing else to burn. As that wind's pushing it back, it's going over charred area, and there's no more fuel for it. But I'll tell you what, for the people on the other side of that ridge, what a huge blessing that is.
What a relief. We do know that 3 homes have burned. We witnessed 2 homes that were just so close. It would be amazing if they survived.
He was shaking. He goes, it was like 20 feet in front of us. We could feel it. We could feel it on the ground. And he was, you know, they were freaked out. And then that's when you looked up and seen the fire.
We're going to go live to Alex Cabrero. He's on the phone right now, and he is at the LDS Meeting House, which is actually serving as an evacuation center right now. Alex, what can you tell us about what's going on there? Are there a number of people there already?
Absolutely. There are about 50, 60 people right now. A lot of them have been evacuated from the area, and I got to tell you, there's just a sense of fear as you talk to these people, as you look in their eyes. They just don't know if their house is among some of the structures that have burned at this point.
Some of the homes that we thought may have been claimed by the fire, miraculously the fire swept around them and left them untouched, which was really quite remarkable. And it's just been incredible to see some of it, yet at the same time other ones have been claimed. This was a home that we looked at and we saw the flames advancing to it, and we thought it was going to get claimed by the fire. It's untouched while everything all around it is burnt to a cinder.
Ben, you've shown us that twice, and it's heartening to see, but it's hard to imagine how that happened, because you were right. We were watching that home. We watched the fire close its flanks around it and just said, there's no way that's going to make it, and there it stands. Wonderful. That's
yeah, that's right. And yet at the same time, there are other properties where the entire property and everything has been burned, and it's just tragic to see that as well.
Hey, Ben, I know they're in a defensive mode right now, talking about firefighters, and I'm just wondering, as far as containment is concerned, especially when you include the wind, I'm trying to get a bigger perspective here as far as the outlying areas of this fire. Does it seem like, to a degree, they're getting it somewhat surrounded, or am I way off here?
Unfortunately, you're way off.
Okay.
This is not contained in any way, shape, or form. There's been a lot of retardant dropping going on, but I can tell you, until there is a physical dirt break all the way around this fire, everything is still in danger.
We want to make sure it's safe for them to go back in. We don't want to have to evacuate them again.
The Rockport 5 fire still burning strong, threatening homes, and fire officials say it's still a long way from being fully contained. Fire officials say the blaze is 25% contained tonight, but flames are still threatening several homes.
Mandatory evacuations are still in effect. Shelters in Colville and Park City remain open for those who have no place to stay. We have live team coverage tonight. News specialist Alex Cabrero spoke with several evacuees and will share their stories. News specialist Andrew Adams has more on the impact the fire has had on the community. And we begin tonight with news specialist Sam Penrod.
From Chopper 5, you can see the devastation. 13 homes destroyed, other buildings lost, and hundreds of acres scorched. But you can also see a few homes that were right in the fire's path that are still standing.
It's not big, but what makes this fire so expensive to fight and so critical to get resources on is the fact that we have so many structures here.
We're going to take a live picture from Chopper 5, and this is showing a house that's burning. This is as we speak right now. This is not file video from yesterday. So you see the thick black smoke right there, and it's hard to tell exactly where this is. You see all the smoke surrounding it, but again, this just goes to show the devastation of what this fire has done over the course of the past couple of days.
We spoke with several residents who say they just didn't know. One guy says he was told all morning long his home burned to the ground, only to go there this morning and found it was still standing. One woman went home to get her pets, thinking the worst, only to find the best. It's at times like these when people remember what is most important.
They could have suffocated, they could have been burned.
Rainey Butters was just happy to see her cats again.
I had to sit there and watch as a fire was like going towards my neighbor's house and my house, and all I could do was sit there and watch. I felt so beyond helpless. Like, what am I supposed to do?
For the people who've been evacuated, it's anxiety. What's going on with my home? And for other people, it's frustration over how they can simply help.
It's really unnerving.
Mike Lee got the call when he was in Salt Lake. He has farm animals and pets. None of them are getting fed during the evacuation, but he's more concerned about his neighbors. He watched on TV as homes he recognizes burned.
It's like, yeah, that's my neighborhood. That's my church we go to. Those are my neighbors that are crying because they've lost everything.
This is breaking news from KSL, your news specialists.
Hello again. We are cutting into programming tonight to keep you updated on the wildfire that's burning in Summit County. It's about 5% contained only already, but right now the governor of Utah, Governor Gary Herbert, is holding a news conference.
Yeah, let's take a listen in and see what he has to say.
12 residences now that are been burned. Another approximately 15 other structures, outbuildings, some vehicles, and a couple of boats. And we are concerned about those who've lost property. Obviously, that's our first concern, is protection of life and protection of property. And I can tell you that the efforts have been significant. This has been a collaborative effort of, you can imagine, having to mobilize resources, and what we see here tonight in less than 8 hours, and what they've done has been remarkable. We've lost 12 residences. We still have some that are in jeopardy, but think of the homes that have been saved.
And all I could do is sit there and watch. I felt so beyond helpless. Like, what am I supposed to do?
It was hard this morning going up because you didn't know.
Those are my neighbors that are crying because they've lost everything.
Good evening. 14 homes have burned to the ground, and fire officials say more are threatened.
We are about to get the latest update on the Rockport 5 wildfire. Let's go straight out to Alex Cabrero in Park City with the very latest on this. Alex, a lot of people anxious to know what's going on.
That's absolutely right, Mike. The press conference here is supposed to start any minute right now. I see some of the people who are coming by here getting ready to speak. But, you know, a lot of residents do want to know, when can they go back home? They've been put out since yesterday afternoon when the lightning bolt struck down, forcing about 250 homes to evacuate. Ever since then, residents have been wondering, when can they go back home? Unfortunately, as you mentioned, Mike, 14 homes have burned to the ground. Still, there are a lot of residents who haven't been able to go back home yet. Still, they are wondering when that might be possible. We have a story here that we spoke to some residents earlier today. They're just ecstatic, some of them who were able to go back home, but again, wondering what's happening with their homes.
Hers was one of the first ones.
Normally, this is the place in Wanship to fill your car and fill your tummy. Today, though, the Rafter B Gas and Grub was a place to get some hope.
This has been a difficult couple of 24 hours.
Kim Alderman runs the store, lives in the area, which means she also knows how emotional it's been for those who lost their homes in the fire burning just up the road. Her shop has sort of become the unofficial place for residents to get news from each other.
Oh, they know them all. They know everybody that's affected, so that's what the small community is.
Homes to this point, one today, one last night, and the other 12 during the initial phase of the fire.
What happened with the 14th home that was lost today? Can you go take us through that?
It was a blow up that kindled, driven by wind, relative low humidities, high temperatures, and the passing thunderstorms. But in the we did lose the one structure today, but at the same time they saved 22 other structures.
Many families are eager to check on their homes, and tonight we're hearing from one couple who watched their cabin burn on live TV. This happened as we brought you coverage of the fire from Chopper 5 not long after it all began. News specialist Mike Anderson spoke with that couple today, and Mike, not an easy way to find out.
Yeah, certainly not, Mike, but the Gilberts say that it is better than not knowing at all. You know, even though it wasn't their primary home, they say that cabin held a lot of memories, and as Chopper 5 flew above the scene yesterday, they saw something familiar, but as they took a difficult second look, they say it became even more apparent.
Yet one more home burned away earlier this afternoon. Those chilling images captured by Chopper 5, reminiscent of what Nick and Patty Gilbert saw just the day before.
Where our cabin was just a ball of fire.
As this image came into view,
and there was one fireball as they started to zoom in, and when they zoomed in close enough to identify structures and things, we knew that was our cabin.
But what really made them certain, this satellite view of before, pointed out by their son-in-law.
I had gone to Google Earth, and they could see, you know, like before 2 o'clock, our cabin.
That view from above played over and over again through the night's coverage. They say it's better knowing, though still tough to see.
We put a lot of hours into it, a lot of hours. Spent with his mom and dad. That's, you know, those are good memories.
Memories more important than the actual cabin itself, gone in the Rockport fire. While the building was worth around $50,000, Nick Gilbert says it's been in his family since the early 70s.
Wasn't perfect, but it was a nice place to get away.
Crews continue to work hard to contain the blaze by ground and air, some facing the difficult challenge of keeping flames away from many of the threatened structures. Meantime, the Gilberts are eager to see whether anything of theirs survived.
It'd be nice to be able to get the things out of there and salvage whatever there is that can be salvaged.
Though with at least 14 structures destroyed so far, they realize it is worse for others.
I'm really sad for those who have lost their homes that lived there.
And the Gilberts aren't sure whether they will rebuild. They say they have tried before to get some fire insurance in that area, but had a tough time because of where the cabin is located and its distance from water sources. Back to you.
The accurate figure at this point is down to 8 structures.
That's good news tonight. The number of homes destroyed has decreased, the containment has increased, and some people evacuated due to the Rockport wildfire are being allowed back into their homes.
The evacuations have been lifted for Bridge Hollow and for promontory communities.
Good news there, and good evening to you. You can tell state fire officials are happy to have good news to report this evening. Let's get right to News Specialist Andrew Wittenberg in Summit County right now. And Andrew, it appears we got a few homes back tonight, haven't we?
Oh, some great news is what we heard